So, Kambua, same question as I've asked Irene and Tats. What is the most meaningful part about your work and the theme that you'll talk to us about today, which is, just to remind everyone, which is mindset, how it affects us inside and out?
Okay, hi everybody. First of all, you look so lovely tonight. Has somebody told you you look beautiful? No, turn to the lady next to you. Tell her, you're so beautiful. Compliment her hair, her makeup, her earrings. My name is Kambua, and the most meaningful thing about what I do about my life is awakening hope in other people. Because I know the number of times that I have needed hope reawakened in me. And I like that from when Coach Roseanne started talking and all the way to everybody who's spoken, Tatiana, Irene, there's community that keeps coming up. That God has used community, people, to awaken hope in me. So the most meaningful thing for me, as long as I have breath, is to do the same, is to reawaken hope in other people.
Jeez, I mean, the gems. I love it. And I think what I've also learned and noticed and experienced in my own life is that it's a cycle almost. It's not like you awaken hope and you're like, oh, thank God, fixed for life. It's like things kind of keep coming up and you're forced to confront certain demons or trauma, and you have to kind of go back to the practices. Do you want to? So everyone here has a kind of different setup, speech and a talk. I'll ask each person if there's like notes and things that you want to get into. But again, I still have my questions. So when I think of mindset, one of the things that comes up is self-talk and how critical we can be. I think even in Roseanne's talk, when you were talking about the rejection, it was like, what am I doing wrong? Rather than it was just a numbers game. But it's almost like we often go back to talk like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get it right? How many times does this have to happen for me to? We go back to such a like that programming. And I was just wondering, how would you describe your experience of self-forgiveness and self-love?
So I am still on the journey. I'm still on the journey. And I remember when I met Coach Roseanne early this year. Was it early this year? It feels like it's been much longer. She found me at a place where I was so hard on myself. So hard on myself. And I don't know why the biggest blessing in my life also became my source of the greatest criticism, self-criticism. So motherhood is something I had wanted for so long. But when I became a mother, I became so hard on myself. And I became so hard on myself even when things happened that were beyond my control. Okay, I lost a child and I blamed myself. And went through a journey of being unable to have children, and I blamed myself. And so when we met, I had just had my daughter who turned a year old last week. Thank you. I was just dealing with so much in my mind and not taking into account how much I had overcome. I did not credit myself enough for being here, for being alive, for not having lost my mind. I did not credit myself enough for having carried children through very difficult pregnancies, and having two with me, having one with the Lord. I never stopped and said, wow, Kambua, you have done a lot. It was always, oh my gosh, you need to do more. You need to, and that voice, I realized has been magnified by the biggest blessing in my life. So I have been on a journey to undo some of those things, and I will share a little bit about being anchored in seasons of life. And one of the things that I have been working on over the last few months is operating from a place of advantage, because Coach Roseanne, we said, I remember this one session we had, and we've had some really difficult sessions, where I realized that because of everything that has happened over the last decade in my life, a part of me became a victim. And I accepted that narrative over myself. And it's so difficult to operate from a place of disadvantage. But when you reposition yourself and see what your power is, and see how the things that have happened to you can now work for you, then you find yourself at a place of advantage. So that's the journey I have been on. Yeah.
Juan, thank you for sharing that. Just leading off of what you've just said, what are some actual practical things that have helped shift your mind frame from moving from or making decisions and informed decisions from a place of disadvantage rather than advantage? What are some of those steps?
One of the first thing that for me was very practical is strongly tied to my faith. And that is, I had to stop tolerating the plan of God and accept it. So, because we find ourselves in seasons and we just want to, you're just tolerating and you're angry and you're bitter and you're resentful. But when you accept it, when you rest in it, you begin to thrive in that season. So when I was about 19 years old, I found myself in Canada for school. It's the first time I ever experienced different seasons, because, in Kenya we have, it's hot, it's raining, like there's not much seasons, right? So it was winter time when I landed, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is how snow looks. Okay, it was so beautiful. But it wasn't so beautiful when I fell on ice, okay, on black ice. But there were really beautiful things about winter time. And then the spring came and I started to see life come back. And then summertime came and everybody was out and having a great time. And then the fall is my favorite season. It's so beautiful. The weather is just right. And then we get right back into the winter. And I thought about how life is exactly like that one season gives way to another season. And it's inevitable that right now I could be in my winter and it might feel like it's forever, but it's going to give way to the next season, which is spring. But when we're in those seasons of our lives, we feel like it's taking forever. I'm never gonna get out of this place. I will never have children. I will never get a job. I will never. And that is part of us tolerating a plan, other than trusting that God, He says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans for good, plans to prosper you, not to harm you. So I had to get to a place where, this is the other thing, I trust the heart of God towards me. That God is not a sadist, He's not in heaven like, oh my gosh, let's see how much she can suffer. His plans for me are good. Even when it doesn't feel like it, I know His heart for me is good. I learned to operate from a place of advantage. I am learning. And here's the thing. I think it's human nature to want to go back to old habits. And what I'm learning is the more I do something in the new way, the more I'm able to override my old habits, right? Because if I am coming from a place where my questions were, why me? So I have an almost 4-year-old and a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old in heaven. But my babies are small, right? My age mates have babies in high school, going to the university, and I felt left behind. I was like, God, thank you so much for your blessings. But as people are discussing, oh, my daughter is applying to the US, I'm like, what diapers are in the market? And it just feels like you've been left behind. And I realized that it's so easy for us to fail to see the blessing of where we are, and that our timings in life are so different. Somebody in this room could get married at 50, and that was the right time. Not you, Kagiri. We want love to find you quickly. But you know what I mean? It could be 50, it could be 30, it could be 25. It's also different for all of us. So knowing again that the plans that God has for us, for each and every one of us, are good, and his timing is perfect, and he makes no mistakes. So I'm not at a place of disadvantage. I'm enjoying motherhood. It's hard, but it's beautiful. I love. Today my son made me so upset in the morning. He erased everything on my phone. Everything. Like my phone looked new. He was like, "Mama, look what I've done." And I really had to remind myself that he's a blessing. And I went on my stories. I'm like, guys, I'm looking for a techie, and all the techies did not know what to do with my phone. And I just said, all those memories gone just like that because of a 4-year-old who doesn't pay bills. But praise the Lord, because my husband fixed it about an hour before I came here, and I was like, but you know, all this to say that it's difficult, but it's beautiful, and it's exactly where I'm supposed to be. I have no doubt. I am happy changing diapers. I'm happy blending food. I am happy, okay? Because I know another season is gonna come. So I want to be fully present in this one. Amen? Have I turned you into a church? I'm so sorry. Finally, what we were saying is getting a community. And I'm so happy that I looked around and I saw one of my sisters in the congregation. Hi, Naserian. She's one of the baddest makeup artists in Nairobi, by the way. I am plugging my sister, but she's good. Can you see her face? Yeah, she beats it proper. I have learned to build a community of people I can be honest with, vulnerable with, people who will not judge me, but also people who will not allow me to just sit in my darkness, for lack of a better word. People who will challenge me, people who will say, okay, let's cry together, but now we've cried enough, let's open the curtains and let's move forward. So I have a community that I love, and that's what I want to leave you with as well, is to get a community of people who you can be honest with, you can be vulnerable with, people who are not in awe of who you are, is what I say, because my life is fairly public, right? But when I go home, my mom is part of my community. I value her opinion a lot and her voice in my life. My mom, when I walk into our house, she will never say, oh, Kambua has come, give her a cup of tea. My mom will be like, okay, go make me a cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like she keeps me grounded. She keeps me, she doesn't downplay my gifts and my abilities. She celebrates them, but she keeps me grounded. And that's what my community does. It keeps me grounded. So those are some of the gems I would share with you in your seasons of life, that you can stay anchored regardless of what season you're in.